Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhake Sharanye Trembake Gauri Narayani Namostute. One of the biggest celebrations of our Hindu calendar is the celebration of Navaratri, culminating in the Vijayadashmi day, or called as Dashara also. Throughout the year, there are many festivals for us, yet Deepavali and Navaratri are considered the biggest among them. And Navaratri is a celebration that spans over 9 nights, and 10th day is the Vijayadashmi. So there's a longer celebration compared to all other festivals here. Our Hindu way of life and the festivals, the rituals, the worship of gods and goddesses, all of them show us what the ultimate goal of perfection or the goal of human life is. Not only that, they also reveal the path towards achievement of the goal. So it is both the state of ultimate perfection and the path towards achieving that, both are indicated here. We shall try to see Navaratri from the point of view of Devi Upasana, which can be mapped into the Vedantic path towards self-realization. In Vedanta, the ultimate goal is indicated, which is as Brahman, is to find out one's own real identity. The real identity of who I really am is ultimately revealed through knowledge. We are going to see very shortly in Bhajagovindam, he is going to say that Jnana Vihina Sarva Matena Muktim Na Bhajati Janma Shatena. Ultimately, what reveals that identity is the knowledge of the self, the self-awareness. We are not talking about a Jnana Yoga here, which is the practice of Jnana. It is talking about the ultimate realization or the ultimate awareness, which is the opening up of the self. That Jnana is the ultimate culmination of the self-enquiry. And the self-enquiry, we enter into that state through various processes given in Vedanta as Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, that is hearing, reflection, contemplation, culminating in meditation. And therefore there are various sadhanas that are given, but the famous sadhana given in Vedanta is the sadhana chatushtayam, which we have covered in detail when we were doing the portion of the concepts that we studied from the Tattva Bodha, where he elaborates in detail. Sadhana means effort. Sadhya means the goal or the ultimate. The sadhana leads us to sadhya. Sadhana chatushtayam refers to the fourfold practices, fourfold sadhana. If we are able to practice these four, we will be able to easily tread the path which ultimately leads to self-realization. These can be taken as qualities that are required for a sadhaka to gain the ultimate knowledge through the study of Upanishads also. In other words, these qualities can be taken as preparatory qualities that are required to enter the path itself. But once you practice these qualities in their fullest form, it is actually the realization itself. These qualities, if we see that only after we gain this quality we are going to enter the path, if you gain that quality fully, you are already there. So how are these qualities to be understood? These qualities are to be understood that the extent to which we practice, to that extent gaining Brahma Vidya becomes easier. So it is relative and absolute. That is why even each and every sadhana that is given here, the quality that is given here, it can be practiced at the relative level, at the absolute, at the deeper level. And it is not one after the other in the order that is given. It is all done simultaneously contemporaneously, and yet there is an order that is given. Later part of our sadhana is the same thing at a deeper level. These sadhanas are named as Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi, Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshatva. Viveka is the discrimination between what is real and what is unreal. That is why I said in the beginning stage, development of intellect is also can be mapped under Viveka. First of all, we need to develop a basic intellect to understand what is right and wrong, what is dharma and adharma. What is relatively permanent and relatively temporary, so that we know how to make our pursuit even in the dharmic pursuits of the world. And then comes a higher level of Viveka, which is to understand what is real and what is unreal. That is the higher form of Viveka. Similarly, second one, Vairagya. Vairagya is that capacity to be absolutely dispassionate. A total indifference towards whatever is the consequences of our action which accrues as fruits here and hereafter. So therefore we need to practice a little bit of dispassion even as we do our work in the world. That is a sense of Vairagya, that we need to move away from what is impermanent and hold on to what is permanent. And at the ultimate level, you are absolutely dispassionate about whatever accrues even out of the spiritual sadhana. To that level, you are absolutely in a dispassionate level. That is a deeper level of Vairagya. Samadhi, Shatka Sampatti refers to the wealth of 6 qualities here. It's interesting, when you spread these qualities, 6 plus 3, 9 becomes 9 qualities also. Shama and Dhamma talk about the control of the vagaries of the mind at the emotional level and the sense level. Again, we need a basic level of self-control in the beginning, and then we have to root it out of existence at the deeper level. We see that how even great sages like Vishwamitra and others, they are cautioning us as to even in your deepest sadhana, in the highest form of meditation also, the temptations may be there and you need to control and root it out of existence. Uparama is the sense of withdrawal. Sense of withdrawal, again, temporarily, in order to gain the knowledge also, we need to involve in our Swadharma and gain this knowledge. But ultimately, the deeper Uparati is where you are withdrawn from the affairs of the world in general and you are concentrated on your spiritual pursuit. Titiksha is forbearance, or putting up with all the obstacles and pains with a pleasure. You need to undergo the hard sadhana in the initial phase. Again, in the later and subtler part, those subtle pains, when we say pain, it has to be understood in terms of what the stage at which where you are even longing for realization, that type of a mindset that you go through at that point of time, we need to forbear that and wait patiently. Shraddha is an unwavering faith. Shraddha again is at 2 levels. The Shraddha that we have in the beginning, in the words of the Shastras and the Guru, there an unflinching devotion and faith is there that it is going to lead us in the path. But a greater Shraddha is needed at the later level, because now there is no doubt or anything about it. Yet, even after so much practice, we are not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. That is where Shraddha is becoming much deeper there. Samadhana, a tranquil state of equanimous mind, which is single-pointedly in pursuit of this. So therefore, in the initial stage, it is the single-pointedness of the pursuit, later culminating in the single-pointedness of the meditation also. Chitta ekagrata, it is unwavering single-pointedness. All these, to the extent that we gain these qualities, it is helpful for us. And lastly, mumukshatva. Mumukshatva is that burning desire to liberate oneself, understanding that I am in the bondage and at any cost I need to liberate myself. This is the purpose for which a human life or birth is given to me. In fact, if you look at it the other way, mumukshatva is the starting point of sadhana also. Unless otherwise this thought about that I want to get out of this rut comes, why will anybody even venture into the spiritual path? Why would anybody want to gain knowledge and develop the intellect? So the starting phase is also mumukshatva. As you proceed in the sadhana, the fire conflagrates into a bigger flame. So therefore mumukshatva keeps on increasing, and at the last stages there is only that burning desire for liberation, nothing else. You are not deviated away anywhere, even in the spiritual path. So this is the broad sadhana that is given. It is very interesting that the Devi Upasana, beautifully we can map the idea of Vedantic sadhana into the 9 days of Devi Upasana as given in the Devi Mahatmyam or the Chandi part. The story is divided into 3 charitra. Prathama charitra, or the initial chapter, talks about the Divine Mother in the form of Mahakali. She is killing the asuras of Asura Madhukaitava. Madhukaitava were born from the year of Mahavishnu when he was in the state of Yoga Nidra, and they were creating all sorts of trouble which nobody can handle. Finally, Devi finishes him off by taking the form of Mahakali, or the Shakti of Mahakali is invoked and she destroys Madhukaitava. This is the first charitra. The Madhyama charitra is the main one which is celebrated all over, even here during Durga Puja, is the slaying of Mahishashura. Mahishashura is the demon in the form of a wild buffalo. Mahishashura represents all that is a culmination of the negativities within a person. These asuras are not just cosmic forces, they are the forces of negativity within the individual also. So therefore, this is tackled with a long drawn battle. He acquired a boon from Lord Brahma, and as in every case, at the end of the tapas, we seek only immortality. He also wanted to be immortal. But Brahma said, that is not possible. That is, in other words, there is an age limit that is given for me also. Like that it is said. So there is no way that immortality can be bestowed upon anybody in the form that you are there. So he thought and he said, God's, what all he thought can be the source of his destruction, he said there should not be any destruction by any of them, through any of them. And he thought that what can any woman do? So if at all any death has to occur to me, it has to be through a feminine form, which is a woman. And Brahma agreed for that, and therefore from that time onwards he started abusing his power. He conquered the Devas, he conquered everybody. He right royally walked into the city of the heaven and occupied it. When the atrocity was too much to bear, the god submitted to Brahma. Then they consulted Vishnu and Lord Shiva. These are the ultimate powers known, and none of them could do anything to Mahishashura. So ultimately they had to invoke the Supreme Mother. So finally, in the battle ensuing between Mahishashura, it is the goddess who slays Mahishashura. This is elaborately given in the Madhyama Charitra, where the Shakti in the form of Mahalakshmi is invoked. And in the Uttama Charitra, all the other lingering asuras are taken care of. There is Dhumra Lochana, there is Chanda and Munda, there is Rakta Bija, there is Shumba and Nishumba. All these are taken care of by the invoking the power of the Devi in the form of Mahasaraswati. So the three Charitras talk about the manifestation of Devi in three forms, and slaying of various asuras are given. Finally, Vijayadashmi is celebrated. Now, how does it map into the sadhana chatushtaya culminating in self-realization that we saw? See, a person first, he is caught up in his material pursuits. First of all, he needs to understand that this is not the pursuit. He has to get into the proper spiritual pursuit itself. That is the initial stage of his sadhana. So Madhu Kaitava talks about the insect which, or represents the insect which collects the honey, which represents all our material pursuits in the world, hoarding wealth, pursuing the world with no reference to spirituality at all. So that is to be first, this is the expression of tamas in a person. This is to be taken care by invoking the Mahakali in us. It is the power of the Kriya Shakti which is doing the action in the right way, by which we are going to deal with the vasanas pertaining to the world, as it were. So that we can even map Karma Yoga in this aspect. So this form of Shakti technically is also called as Kriya Shakti. Kriya Shakti is the Shakti which invokes that action in the right way. Karma becomes Karma Yoga when we change the attitude in our actions. We need not change the action. The attitude in the action is changed, and therefore with the bulk of actions, bulk of desires are taken care of. So this is the worshipping of Mahakali, which is to kill the negativities in us by performing the actions in the proper way. Then comes the major part of the spiritual sadhana, which is subduing all the negativities within by developing positive qualities. So therefore in the first, if we want to map the initial mumukshatva where the spiritual journey begins, can be mapped into the Prathama Charitra. The Shamadhi Shatka Sampati in general, gaining of all the wealth of qualities. Mahalakshmi is the goddess of wealth. It is just not the wealth as we understand as material wealth. All the wealth, all the auspiciousness, all the beauty, all the inner wealth is also Sampati. It is also in the grace of Mahalakshmi only we do acquire. So all these qualities of self-control, all the qualities of withdrawal, all the qualities of Shraddha, and all the qualities of single-pointedness, these are the way by which we are able to subdue the negativities within us. So this is a long-drawn battle between Mahishasura and the Devi. So like that, in our spiritual sadhana, there has to be a constant battle. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramatini haranti prasavam mana. Yatato hyapi means even for a person who is striving on the spiritual path, it is very, very difficult to control. So therefore, the hardest part is to gain the intellect, develop the subjectivity, develop the renunciation. All this is a long drawn process. That is why there is no shortcut to realization, as it were, that directly people go into meditation. It's not possible. So development of this wealth of these qualities within us is represented in the second aspect of the Charitra. This can be understood in terms of the Ichcha Shakti. Ichcha, we are using it in the positive sense here, where the thought of the higher is invoked, by which the lower desires are taken care of. So therefore, you are working now towards a higher goal, gaining qualities like compassion, gaining qualities like all other things that we discussed, in order to make ourselves conducive for the knowledge. So there is slaying of negativities, and then there is all the vagrancies of the mind are brought under control. Then you are ready for the launch into the absolute jnanam. So the Uttama Charitra is talking about all the remaining negativities completely taken out of our system. Chanda, Dhumra Lochana is about Dhumra Lochana. The term itself indicates that smoky eyed. That means the vision is very blurred. So the proper vision is gained by Viveka. Viveka gives you the proper vision. Okay. So Dhumralochana is slayed. Then Chanda and Munda are the complete eradication of the aspects of anger and revenge. That's why she is worshipped as Chamundi. Chamundi is the slayer of Chanda and Munda. So here they are absolutely taken out of. So therefore we understand the Titiksha at the highest level. See, sage Vishwamitra calls for help of Lord Rama for protecting his yaga. The power of Vishwamitra is such that he can take care of the entire Rakshasa clan single-handedly. At the height of his tapas, once he was tempted by Ramba, and when that was disturbed, he gave her a sharp because of the force of anger that was manifest at that point of time. Then, having lost the power of the tapas, he again regained the tapas. Again he was tempted by Urvashi. So there also he has to again regain the tapas. So we find that even at the highest stage of tapas, the mind's tendency can be tested, particularly when you are in the yogic path. So they need to be taken out of the system. And then he conquered and became a Brahma Rishi. After becoming a Brahma Rishi, whatever is supposed to be done through the proper means, that's what is being done. He is doing yajna for the welfare of the universe, but the protection of which is sought from Lord Rama. Otherwise he could have taken care of, but he has just no any passion, emotion to invoke, as it were. It is completely not just subdued, it is eradicated. So therefore we see that a highest form of Titiksha is mapped into these two asuras. And then you have Rakta Bija. Rakta Bija is a form of Asura who has a very peculiar quality. Each and every drop of the blood that drops from his body on the ground is the seed for similar such Asuras coming. Rakta Bija Asura. Rakta means blood, Bija means every drop of blood becomes a seed for further. So it is talking about the multiplicity of our desires. So it is completely not a drop was allowed to spill on the ground, and the terrible form of the goddess completely drinks it all. So the desire is completely eradicated, and what is going to completely eradicate the desire in terms of sadhana, Vairagya is invoked here. And Shumba and Nishumbha finally are there in conquering the ego, as it were, Ahankar and Mamakar, which is the ultimate thing that is lingering with us. So Vijayadashmi, when they burn the effigy of Lord, when they burn the effigy of Ravana, it is only symbolic of the destruction of ego. So this aspect can be mapped under the Jnana Yoga. So Karma Yoga, the Prathama Charitra, Bhakti Yoga in the Madhyama Charitra, and Jnana Yoga in the Uttama Charitra. Also the Kriya Shakti, the Ichcha Shakti, and here the Jnana Shakti. So if you look at it, Navaratri talks about a very beautiful way of sadhana towards self-realization. Vijayadashmi is the absolute dawn of the knowledge, which is a permanent state. This should not be understood as 10 days towards realization. It is symbolic of our sadhana. So therefore, throughout the year, throughout the life, we have to adopt this procedure by which we will be able to practice this, and then by the grace of Guru, by the grace of God, we will be able to reach the state of self-realization. In fact, Swamiji has also interpreted in the book God Symbolism, he invokes these three. That is, even here, when you worship Durga Puja now, later on the Pournami day, Lakshmi Puja comes, later Kali Puja and other things, culminating in Saraswati Puja, which is in January. In January it will come. So the order is the same. So order is the same, that you have to first conquer the negativities by hard work of Karma Yoga, then you have to create the positive wealth of qualities by Bhakti Yoga, and ultimately aim towards renunciation, meditation and realization through the Jnana Yoga, which will open up the awareness within us. Now, in our way of worship, in our way of understanding, The Supreme God is referred to in Upanishadic parlance as Tat. Tat means that. That is beyond everything. That is beyond all names and forms. That is beyond all qualities and attributes. That is beyond all conceptions and perceptions. It is beyond all experience. It just cannot be even put it in words. You give it a name, Brahman, that's all. Even Brahman is just a term, but that is what is the ultimate truth, Sat Chit Anand, whatever you want to refer to that. In order to reach that, to do upasana means sitting near, that means going near that, taking our thoughts near that. That is called as upasana. As you think, then so you become. You are absorbed into that. Upasana of the Nirguna Brahman is very difficult. It is not impossible. There are stalwarts who have done it, and if anybody is able to achieve it directly, we should really prostrate to them. Since it is very difficult, we are also given the liberty to worship the same in the form of Saguna Upasana. Saguna Upasana means worshipping the same with gunas. It is easier for the mind to relate to that. And the moment Nirguna is understood as Saguna, remember both are one and the same. It is one and the same only. There are no two Brahman or anything. Then there will be a fundamental mistake we are doing. It is only one. But the moment you are able to conceive, understand and relate to it as Saguna, the technical point here with reference to Vedantic thought is that Nirguna in association with Maya is called as Saguna. Nirguna in association with Maya is called as Saguna. Therefore, Saguna Brahman is called Ishvara. The Ishvara Tattva is never separate from the Tattva of Maya, they are together. So, therefore, what we understand here is the moment Nirguna is brought or understood or conceived as Saguna, it is understood as a whole complete where both are together. Therefore, in terms of Upasana, it is never complete unless otherwise you worship Shiva and Shakti together, Vishnu and Lakshmi together, Brahma and Saraswati together. Vedantins call Purusha and Prakriti. You call it as Ishvara and Maya, whatever you call. When you say Ishvara, Maya is understood. When you say Shiva, Shakti is understood. One without the other is not possible in terms of manifestation. This has to be very clearly understood. Only if we understood that, only when we understand that, we will understand the importance of Devi Upasana also. Because we will not even understand the full impact of that unless otherwise we contrast it with other faiths or other forms of worship, which only conceive of God as a male entity. See, just think about it. Everybody talks about God as infinity. There is no doubt about it. Be it Christianity, Islam or anything, when you ask who is God, what is God, it is talked about as infinity. Infinite is infinite. Okay. But the moment you say God is only male, are you not contradicting the statement of infinity? The moment you say he is male, that means he is not female. That means there exists some other conception in you apart from that. So suppose you say God is only transcendental and not immanent. Transcendental means God is beyond everything. God is beyond the universe. God is absolutely everywhere where you can conceive of. But for argument's sake, if you don't accept the God as immanent within you, because there are some forms of worship which don't understand or accept God as the deep-seated core of the personality within you. So the moment you say it is there everywhere, infinity, at the same time you don't accept of the God which is there, no, it is only somewhere beyond the clouds unto whom you must surrender and he is going to give you salvation. Suppose if a person is able to understand or relate to this, suppose you say it is not here, or if you say it is not in a chicken or a goat or a cow, to that extent you are restricting the all-pervasive infinite nature of God. That means simultaneously you are calling him infinite and not accepting to be infinite. So there is a fundamental flaw in this argument. our way of worship and our conception is absolutely beautiful in this, and we must be really happy and proud of it, because probably this is the only surviving tradition which worships the Supreme in the feminine form. There we have seen ancient pagan religions, even in Greek mythology we understand goddess are invoked and worshipped. But after the advent of the monotheistic faiths and spreading of that all over the world, where the ancient cultures were swallowed, we don't find this. Now there is an appropriation and there is an awakening with reference to what they call as ecofeminism and all. It is nothing but appropriation of what we say here, but it will be repackaged and given to us later, after which we will also appreciate. But the worship of the divine in the form of feminine always has been a part and parcel of our worship, and it is never separate. That's the point I am trying to say. When it comes to Purnatva, it is always there together. But that form can be worshipped in any way which is comfortable for your mind. That freedom also is given, and that is again another unique feature of our Sanatana Dharma. Adi Shankaracharya, the greatest Advaitin, who re-established the Advaita Vedanta, also gave the Shanmata Stapata. That means he mapped all the worships into 6 forms. There he talks about the worshipping of the Supreme in the form of Ganesha, in the form of Kumara, which is Lord Kartikeya, in the form of Shiva, in the form of Vishnu, in the form of Shakti and Surya. This is the 6-fold worship of the gods and goddesses. All over India, all over everywhere, these are all prevalent, yet you will find certain regions this is expressed a little more. Like Ganesha's puja is little more in Maharashtra. Lord Kartikeya's worship is more prevalent in Tamil Nadu. Similarly, you will find Shakti worship probably much more in Bengal. The Mahat of this land, this is land of Durga. Probably that's why women are very powerful here, isn't it? Women are very powerful here. It's very interesting that among the Shakti Peethas that are there all over India, when I say all over the original Bharatavarsha, you find 51 such Peethas. Westwards it is there in Balochistan, which is now part of Pakistan. Eastwards it is in Tripura and East Bangladesh. North it is there in I think Ladakh, Nepal, there it is there. South it is Kanyakumari, below that in Sri Lanka it is there. So therefore you see that it is scattered. Every state you take there will be one. But maximum is there only in Bengal. Maximum Shakti Peetha is there only in Bengal. The worship of the Supreme in the feminine form, there is a lot of Mahat there in this land compared to all other places. Why are we able to relate to this worship easily? It is based on the basic human nature or tendency to be easy and close to mother. That's all. Father is also having love and showing strict, when I say strict, he is, the approach to father is little more difficult. Even in houses we see that when a child wants anything to be done, ultimately even if the father is a sanctioning authority, the recommendation has to go through the mother. And at any point of time, when we fall, at whatever stage the son or daughter or the child is, the mother is there always as a refuge without any condition. So that unconditional love that we see in a mother, probably to that extent we don't see it in any other creature. So imagine if that is the state of any normal mother in the world, what will be the compassion and what will be the relationship that we need to have with the universal mother. Her compassion is boundless. It is impossible to conceive. So everybody feels comfortable. See, you yourself can see from your own experience. At the time of extreme crisis, Naturally, what you will invoke is the Devata, which is the Ishta Devata within you. But whenever there is extreme corner that you are pushed and the injustice is taking over and you want to win over that within yourself or outside, we have seen that invoking of the mother immediately gives us strength. The significance of Durga Puja from the point of view of what Swamiji has described as aggressive goodness is this. It's a very unique interpretation. Goodness is in a character of a person. Goodness and badness is in a character of a person. But it is not enough if we are merely good. We have to express that in the context as an aggressive goodness also. When a person is passive, that means he operates from the level of the mind. A person who is aggressive, who operates from the level of the intellect, can take him for a ride. That is why people complain that honest people are suffering in the world. Goodness has no relevance here. Honesty is definitely not the best policy. All these thoughts are being thrown because we see that honest people is suffering, and goodness is not something which you need to compromise. It is difficult to build this character. Maybe over Janmas together we have developed this. We see in the Mahabharata, Pandavas are embodiment of goodness. Kauravas, particularly Duryodhana, Dushasana, Shakuni, they are all embodiment of badness. But who is suffering in the major part of the story is that it is the Pandavas who are suffering. We are not here talking about who got a better sleep at night. Even in the Vanavas, Pandavas were relatively peaceful. That is not the point we are talking about. In terms of prevalence of justice, in terms of what is rightfully there for you, where you should be, who suffered more is the Pandavas. And why is that? It is because all their goodness was operating at the passive level of the personality. Krishna was the embodiment of aggressive goodness. Kauravas were the embodiment of aggressive badness. So aggression is talking about using your manipulation and thinking of the intellect to get things done in whatever way you want. There is no scruples. There is no shame or anything that you find in operating in a corrupt way. All that you do is you are thinking, manipulating and using every means to satisfy your selfish demands. When that force is there invoked in you, that force will overpower the mind's passive nature. So the passive people will be suffering at the hands of aggressive people, and most of the aggressive people's aggression is invoked based on their selfishness. It is very rare that we find a person who is aggressive in his manipulation thinking, but he has no personal motive backing it. Lord Krishna is a very classical example of the usage of aggressive goodness. Whatever was done through him is for Loka Sangraha, for the welfare of the universe. He has no personal motive, yet he was able to speak the language that the Kauravas understood. That was the only way. There is no other way. So by associating with Krishna, Pandavas were able to win that war. In a later history, we find to an extent or to a great extent we see this in Chanakya. Chanakya, he had absolutely no self-interest, yet when he saw that the dharma was on decline, he did not take it lying down. He showed that aggressive character by which how dharma has to be re-established, for which he had no personal glory or no personal ambition in mind. His vision was far, far ahead of his times. So the sacred mother, the universal mother, the extremely good mother, if she can take up arms and ready she is to kill the Mahishashura, which is in the form of a wild buffalo, this is to educate us that you should not take injustice lying down. There is no way by which you can achieve this unless otherwise your wisdom is established at a higher level. If you are operating at the same level as the person, as a bad person, and you are operating with the same values that he also has, you will not be able to conquer him because his force is there and he has no problem with reference to all the corrupt means that he is going to employ. So if you want to fight a sword, it is not with sword, it is with a pistol that you need to fight. So That person who is using intellect, you cannot tackle him with your emotions. It's not possible, however good you may be. In this process, what happens is that when a passive person is trying to become an aggressive person, he compromises on his goodness. That is where the catch is. You should not compromise on your goodness, at the same time develop aggressive tendency in you. That is what is the true intellect of Vedanta is. So we can understand Navaratri or Dashara celebration from this angle also. There is another interesting, as I said, every person who is worthy of any pursuit in life, he is able to achieve it by invoking the grace of Goddess. You think of any freedom fighter of worth the name. Maharishi Aurobindo, he was not just a freedom fighter, he was a philosopher also. He talks about the greatness, he was a great Upasaka of the goddess. Mahakavi Subramanya Bharati. Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyaya wrote the Vande Mataram, isn't it? He was able to personify Bharat Mata as Durga herself. Great kings like Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj invoked the blessings of goddess Bhavani. Warriors of all kind, they invoke Shakti. Great poets also, Kalidasa, Muka, everybody is blessed by the power and grace of the goddess. Yeah, even. Nirurati is the goddess, you know. Nirurati, when it happens in Tamil literature, the lands are divided into 5 categories. In Tamil, the names are Kurunji, Mullai, Marudam, Neidal and Palai. Kurunji refers to that land which is mountain and associated with hills and mountains. Mullai is the forest and the grasslands. Those are the territory which is called as Mullai. Marudam is the farmlands where agriculture is practiced, the village territory which is associated with that. Neidal is the land which is associated with ocean, by the seaside, shore. And then Pala is the desert. So all the lands are covered here. Each and every land has a particular deity. Like Lord Muruga is for the Kurunji, like that is a deity is there that they worship. Even today if you go, the original inhabitants of those lands will have this as the main deity there. The goddess for Palai, which is a desert, is Nirurati. Nirurati, the term itself is interesting. You know, when the Palai or the desert land is created, Rita means cosmic balance, cosmic order. Cosmic order in terms of what is following the ultimate truth, a particular order, a beautiful order that is following this is called as Ritam. English rhythm also has probably the base of the meaning in this. There is a beautiful rhythm actually there. This rhythm has to continue, and if there is a disturbance in this rhythm, that is when the geography is also disturbed. And this rhythm is disturbed by human beings when extreme extreme passion, extreme selfishness and extreme materialism, extreme sensualism takes over at any point of time. Actually there is a term that is used in Indian context called as the thugs. It is a derogatory term. In English language it is used, and it is referring to all the warrior tribes in India who were driven out of their kingdom and who had to take refuge in the forest and other areas, and they were targeted singularly, particularly in all ways by the British. Those who were subdued, those who wrote the equivalent of IAS examinations and got into jobs and were ready to serve under them, it was easy to manipulate them and easy to govern. But the Kshatra aspect of the Indian psyche did not go down, and they were having a lot of problems, so they did not just attack them with the weapons, they attacked them psychologically, and they were called as thugs. And it is interesting that we still continue to have that notion. They are actually unflinching, proud warriors. They worship Niravriti. Niravriti represents that the cosmic order is disturbed. When the cosmic order is disturbed, she takes that fierce form. That is why, Swamiji says, certain part of the world is affected by tsunami and earthquakes and this and that, much more when it is required, because the nature has to take some measures to correct the imbalance, to bring the balance. And who creates this imbalance? You keep on destroying nature for your selfishness beyond a point. That is the nature that you see, that form of Kali, where Shiva is lying down. She steps on him and comes out as a manifestation, isn't it? Finally, she gets subdued by the same force that is there in the substratum. So the substratum or the lying force is that Brahman, but the manifest force is the Shakti. That's why we say Shakti and Shiva are inseparable. But when you disturb it, she shows a Rudra Rupa. That is why I was about to say this also. When you see that recently there is a huge controversy that is created by the Supreme Court verdict of Shabarimala. It is a very unique temple where a unique form of worship is maintained based on the Agama, based on the... you have to first understand why it is so. Okay, there is no business for Supreme Court to enter into the Agama way of worship. And Hindu way of worship and everything is like free for all. This has been what we have been countering for the last 70 years post our independence. See, the irony is this: we got independence and we are countering all these problems, where our own people are said to be in the ruling positions. Carefully notice this. A right is given to a set of women that you can go and equally worship in a sanctum sanctorum of the place, which is to be even approached by men after a great amount of tapasya. This is unique for that temple. There are very many temples where men are not allowed. You have to understand that. There are temples where women are the priests. There are sometimes men are not allowed, where there are some temples men are not allowed at all. There are certain festivals which are celebrated only by women. Like that, there are certain various traditions which have meaning behind it. We don't have time to go into all these things. But what I request you all to notice is the mahat of this land and the way in which the system is built over a period of time. Power is given, right is bestowed now that you can go and worship in a temple which is traditionally not allowing the woman to worship from the age of 10 to 50. But there has been a spontaneous, massive uprising in Kerala, in Bangalore, in Mumbai, in Delhi. This is as good as an uprising what we saw in October 2013 or 12, when there was this Nirbhaya incident where there was a spontaneous passion that was evoked. This gained larger momentum because the media also covered it in a very big way. This is not getting covered in a big way because this goes against their established idea of, within quotes, idea of India. But what is interesting to note here is the maximum participation in these protests is by women. Where there is a right that is given to you to go and worship, they are taking that right to protest, to say that we don't want this right.
Even the woman, the judge gave the dissenting judge.
The only dissenting judge who gave was in terms of Indu Malhotra, who was a woman. What I want you to think about this is what is the Mahat or the real India which is still functioning. We are eternal optimists. Even after this, if it is still functioning, you have to understand that a certain order that is being followed. If this is disturbed, you are again invoking the power of Nirurati. That is why even dacoits and other people, they do invoke this. Taskaranam Patiye says in the Rudra also. Now coming back here, so the worship of the feminine form is there by everybody, not just that freedom fighters and warriors and poets, the sadhakas, but also the jnanis. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, can you imagine him without the universal mother of Kali? Impossible. And that was the time when Hinduism revival happened and Brahma Samaj and everything came in terms of Nirguna Brahman. They were all talking and debating about it. But what finally established itself was the Advaita Vedanta simultaneously in conjoinment with the universal mother of Kali. So it is inseparable. And can you even imagine him without the Holy Mother Sharada Devi? It is not possible. So therefore, it is the Jnanis, the greatest Advaitin that we can think of, Adi Shankaracharya, who gave the finest commentaries on Upanishads and Brahma Sutra and Bhagavad Gita. He gave verses of Saundarya Lahari. He gave all the Devi worships, etc. So if this is the case of greatest Jnani, what prevents us from invoking the goddess for our own welfare? Not just Jnanis, Avataras. Durga Puja's origin is traced to Ramayana. Lord Rama invokes goddess Durga before fighting Ravana. Krishna worships Durga even before the advent of Krishna, before the birth. It is she who is born of Yashoda there. That time Lord Vishnu himself praises Durga. Before Krishna was born to Devaki, when the interchanging of the babies happened, it is Maya who is going to be born there. Later, before the war, in the end of Virata Parva, when Arjuna and others are hiding their weapons and taking it out, again they invoke Durga. So wherever there is to be strength, that is to be invoked, because the potential energy, when it manifests as kinetic energy, it is always in feminine form. So every force in every form is worshipped in the feminine way. Be it the Vedas, Veda Mata we say, or rivers like Ganga, or anything that you can think of in terms of wealth, in terms of power, in terms of knowledge, each and everything, when it is a kinetic energy which is manifesting out of the potential energy, it has to be invoked and worshipped by the feminine form only. And now, if you look at the way by which, particularly here, the Navaratri is worshipped in the 9 forms, it also gives a strong indication as to how our sadhana must be there, particularly for women. Spiritual sadhana all over the Shastras are indicated and said with a man in mind. If you see that it is all addressed. One of I would say a positive reason for this is that it is he who needs to be disciplined, tamed much more. After marriage, a wife is called as Sahadharmacharini, one who walks on the path of Dharma. A wife is also called as Dharma Patni. Dharma Patni is generally referring to a wife, but we don't see the term Dharma Pati or something like that. What it indicates is being dharmic and maintaining Dharma, following Dharma is a natural tendency and trait of a woman compared to the man. There are certain advantages and disadvantages with reference to the woman's body, mind also, man's body, mind also. That is why we say one has to supplement and complement each other in the spiritual path so that they walk together. That is why she is called as Sahadharmacharini. She walks on the path of the Dharma along with the husband. So the spiritual evolution is meant for all. Okay. Now, if you compare this with the modern feminist rights, this doesn't gel well in terms of what is known as an individual right getting established over what is known as a responsibility of the individual. Even a few decades back, if you ask what is the culmination of a woman or a feminism, it would be understood as motherhood. Not so anymore. It is not establishing yourself on the equal footing as whatever the man do, I will also do, or whatever. There is something known as finding your own ways and means and swadharma. The ultimate aim is to reach the same goal. Okay. So, if we are able to understand how the life form is made and maintained, it gives an idea as to how we can mix the worldly life and the spiritual pursuit so that we are able to reach the ultimate perfection in spiritual pursuit, live a fulfilled life as far as the worldly pursuit is also concerned. So the 9 forms of Devi that are worshipped on Navaratri is a clear and a beautiful indication of this. We have the forms described as Shilaputri, Brahmacharini, Chandraghanta, Kushmanda, Skandamata, Katyayani, Kalaratri, Mahagauri, Siddhidatri. These are the 9 forms that are given. And it is very beautifully, if you look at it from one angle, indicating the various stages in life that a woman goes through. And it is just not from the worldly point of view. As I said, there is no distinction made from worldly and spiritual point of view. If you are able to approach even the worldly duties and worldly life from this angle, everything becomes spiritual. Shilaputri is talking about a young girl when in a baby form she is born. That's why she is the daughter of Himavan. Next is Brahmacharini. It is the equivalent of the stage of Brahmacharya where she is in the mode. She is learning. She is a young girl now, learning, doing that type of tapasya that is required for learning. Then she becomes prepared for the marital life, which is when she is ready for a family life, which is the next stage. Chandraghanta is indicative of that. Kushmanda is indicative of the stage where you are in the height of the marital bliss, as a result of which she is able to bear life, which is pregnancy. Skandamata is obvious reference to the culmination, which is motherhood. She is the mother of young Kartikeya there. All this seems to be the various stages in which the girl matures into the ultimate culmination of the womanhood. But then it doesn't go into being a grandmother and a great grandmother, like that it is. Katyayani is probably indicative of the sense of spiritual sadhana and the stage to which renunciation a person goes. That is why Vrata of Katyayani is very, very famous. And Katyayani is a goddess to whom others at a lower stage look up to. So therefore it can be indicative of the stage of a withdrawal or renunciation. Kalaratri can be the stages of final meditation, culminating in Mahagauri, where the knowledge is dawned in the form of wisdom, which is self-realization. And Siddhidatri is not just absolutely established in the Siddhi herself, Siddhidatri. She is able to give that power to others also. So if you look at this way, the journey of our life, particularly for a woman, Goddess herself sets an example and tells what has to be done. Nowadays there is a lot of in the social media and other platforms, a campaign is going with reference to Me Too.
Yes.
Me Too is
Me Too movement.
the movement is about how everybody is saying their harrowing tales about being exploited in their fields of workplace and other thing. This is not to say that women should not work. In fact, you must pursue whatever is your swadharma. But there are various things that are to be done from the point of view of your own natural inclination and tendency. Not only that, it is going to create a healthy society and a healthy family, which is where she is the backbone. Can you imagine of a Shivaji Maharaj who established a vast Hindu empire without being inspired by his mother Jijabai? It's not possible. Can we imagine the great monks who are inspired by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and starting from Swami Vivekananda till today also, they are all doing yeoman service to the world by spreading the Vedantic knowledge, by doing service in whatever forms. Holy Mother Sharada Devi used to have vrata and tapas with her own motherly mind, that all these monks who are dedicated themselves for the sake of the universe, let them not suffer anything from the worldly point of view, which is to take care of their own body, that's about all. Let them have their basic food, let them have their basic shelter, whatever is required at any point of time. Let that not come in the way of their pursuit. This tapasya only Sharada Mata can do. And I really feel it is the blessing of such a powerful tapas that it is still continuing till today with all the might. So what I am trying to say is, it is not that each and everything that has to be done parallelly, equally in the same way. Whatever has to be done in your own way, in your own Swadharma, use it for the self-realization or self-development, that purpose. So that way, if you see, each and everything is holy. Getting educated is a must. Marriage, begetting children, taking care of family, and then going to higher pursuits in whatever way, each and everything has to be dedicated to the higher cause. If you take it that way, there is a beautiful synchronization of worldly pursuit and spiritual pursuit. In fact, they are not divorced from each other. So Navaratri in this form indicates that also. So on the auspicious occasion of Navaratri, we invoke the blessings of the goddess for the welfare of one another. Namah Paramashubhyo Namah.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate.